Yo, what's good everybody? It's Dynamic here, and today I'm going to be making a video of ranking all 8 managers in MLW. Now, I've been having a ton of fun making these off-season videos for you guys, and I only plan on continuing. So before I get into the video, I'd like to ask all y'all to leave a like on the video, comment on the video, and subscribe for me, man. So as you can see from the title and the thumbnail, I'll be ranking all 8 managers in MLW, and I'm going to be doing this on a different criteria than just how good they play. So the first 40% is going to be their play on the field. How good are they at the game of wiffle ball? Do they hit well? Do they pitch well? Do they field well? The next 40% is going to be their manager moves. Are they making good trades? Do they acquire good pieces? How do they react when somebody doesn't show up to the game? What are their lineups looking like? And then the last 20% will be based on leadership. And I know since we can't see the full game in the videos, this is going to be kind of difficult, but you can get a pretty good idea of who's a louder leader and who's not super loud. And that's just pretty much what I'm going to be going off of, which is going to leave this list in shambles. So there's definitely going to be some disagreements. So leave what your list would be on this criteria in the comments for sure. And let's get right into it. So starting with number 8, I have Tommy Coughlin III. Now, obviously, I don't want to spread any hate. This ranking was going to be really hard because we had to put someone at last, and that just happened to be TC3 this year. Now, I love Tommy. I think he's going to bounce back. I've said it multiple times, and I'll say it again. But last year was not very pretty. The Mallards didn't do great, and TC3, I didn't believe, did much to adjust to this. Obviously, his performance wasn't great, if you see these stats right here, and he was pretty much a non-factor when it came to pitching. Now, also, I thought his leadership this year wasn't the best just because I think he was more focused on himself and how bad he was doing, which doesn't mean he's selfish. It means that he feels kind of guilty about the way he was playing, which every athlete does. But just from a manager perspective, I thought Robles was more of the leader this year, so that's why he's at 8. At number 7, I have Jack Agner from the Magic. Now, let me get this straight. I love the podcast. I know the 2 podcast guys are last, but if this were last year, those 2 guys would be at the front of the list. So it's a year by year thing. I think when it comes to actual leadership, that Jack Agner is very high. He's always getting excited for people. He's always, cheering for people, always trying to pick up the team when they're not doing too good. So that's something that I love about him. But what puts him at 7 is just his performance on the field this year. I actually do believe that he's a pretty good manager. But this year as well, we kind of needed to make, or the Magic needed to make, I'm a Magic fan if you didn't know, but the Magic needed to make a trade probably halfway through the season or some sort of lineup adjustment, and it just never really happened. I don't know if the team didn't practice as much either, but there was a significant decline, and when none of your players leave and there's a decline, you usually blame it on managing or coaching, so that's what I did here. At number 6, I got Drew Davis, and shout out Drew Davis, by the way, because he's somebody who actually watches my videos, and I don't know how many MLW players watch my videos, but I know he's one of them, so that's dope to me. But the reason I have him at 6, which is actually a pretty decent ranking, is because I wasn't a huge fan of the trades that he's made over the years, especially this offseason, the way he handled the Jurgensen trade, and then also the way he handled getting Zerleg. I just wasn't a huge fan of it, but they actually have a pretty good chance this offseason. And another thing is his leadership is pretty good. I know he struggles to get players to games. That may or may not be his fault. I'm not too for sure. But what I do know is he's a pretty good player on the field as well. They actually need him to succeed. There's a lot of games, actually most games, where he's the best player on the field. And that's what being a manager is all about in this league. So I definitely have to put him high. The reason he goes kind of low for me is that trade he made at the beginning of the season. I wasn't a huge fan of it. At 5, I decided to put Kyle Schultz. Now, I kind of wanted to put him lower because of their success this season, but there's just some things that aren't his fault. First of all, his stats are amazing at 4 home runs, 16 RBIs, and almost batting 300 from the plate. But also there's the fact that 2 of the players on his team, Nick Saylor and Pearson, just got worse out of nowhere, and it was a little strange to see. I don't know if he had a part of that. I'm guessing slightly, but I don't really blame it on him fully. As a manager, and Kyle Schultz, he's also the commissioner, it's kind of hard to manage a team as well. But also there's the thing of that he put their team in the best situation possible for this next season. He's a great leader. And the number 1 overall pick definitely has some work to do, but in my opinion, he still has a ton of potential in Pat Baldwin. But we'll have to see how he does. I just put him relatively high because I feel like his leadership was pretty good, and a lot of the things that happened to them was kind of out of his control. At number 4, I have Chris Cheatham from the Gators. Now, I get it. This ranking might be a little bit premature and probably a little bit overrated too, but I just like everything he did in the offseason. He completely changed the culture of this team, and I know most of that's due to Sawyer Bien, but I think that Cheatham also had a really good season by himself that kind of flew under the radar. He was trying to hype up his teammates. It was clear that he knew that he was in a different role than he normally was in, and I think he embraced that role really well. And I know Cheatham's one of the more quieter guys in the entire league, so the fact to me that he was able to express himself and be a leader was super impressive, especially it just being his first year. I think he did a phenomenal job, even though they missed the playoffs, and they're in a beautiful spot this offseason, so really excited to see what he does. So at number 3, I have Ryan Cratch and Alec Warder from the Predators, but these next 3 managers could honestly be replaceable for each other in this list. Like, you could put them anywhere in my opinion, as long as they're in the top 3 and it'd be correct. So the reason I have these 2 here is obviously co-managing is kind of difficult, but they both had excellent seasons, and obviously they drafted the Rookie of the Year at 6, which is super impressive, even if I didn't believe he should have been Rookie of the Year, but that's besides the point. And also they made it all the way to Dallas. Even though they weren't able to finish, they did a phenomenal job getting the team ready to go. I've had my concerns with them as managers in the past, but this year it really felt like their play just took over and their leadership was really good as well. At number 2, I have Jimmy Norton from the Diamondbacks. Now, he wasn't able to get it done this year, I understand that, but everything he's done with this team over the last couple of years is just so impressive to me. How he was able to retain the core even after the retirement of Shima. And sometimes when the team is playing bad, it feels like Jimmy Norton just gives them a huge spark. In my opinion, he's the best leader in MLW. He took another step up to be an announcer this year. He's always there for the team. It just seems like he's super reliable. And I know I'm kind of going crazy over Jimmy Norton. I just like him a lot as a player. But seriously, everything that he's been able to do with this team has just been really phenomenal. So I'm excited to see what step he takes forward this season, especially with a new core of guys. We'll see what he does to adjust. And he was in a monstrous conference, so I can't really blame him. And then to round things off, at number 1, I have Daniel Schultz from the Eagles. Now, the resiliency from this man and from this team is just super impressive to me. They went from losing in a heartbreaking series in Atlanta to coming back and winning it all. And if you really think about it, it is on the shoulders and on the basis of what Daniel Schultz had to do. He had a bad season last year. He completely bounced back this year. And what did the Eagles do? They had a good season last year, weren't able to finish, followed Schultz's lead, and were able to bounce back and win the championship. Everything this man has built, from getting Dallas, obviously, to your Gaitis brothers and just Zach Whalen and everything. Even though Blade Walker kind of took a step back from the league this year, it's been incredible to see, and a lot of, if not all, of the credit goes to Daniel Schultz on this one. So that's my ranking of every manager in MLW. Let me know what you guys thought of the list and comment down below what you disagreed with. And as always, I'll see y'all next weekend. It was dynamic, and peace.